Welcome back to part 2 of conducting effective meetings. I'm Gerald Porschman. So once again, how do you make sure you're not killing morale or job satisfaction with your meetings? I've got 8 ways to help you become a more effective meeting leader. Think of it at its most basic. When employees are in meetings, they're not producing work. And the salary each person is being paid to be at that meeting and the amount of work that's collectively lost in the same amount of time should be considered against the meeting's importance. You know, the purpose of any meeting is to make a decision. For example, solving a problem, answering a query, or coming up with ideas to attract a new client. In other words, there's an outcome that requires the input of the players, and those should be the only people at that meeting. Glenn Parker says, there might be a legitimate issue, but it may only concern X people. The rest, if required to attend, will be annoyed and feel they have more productive things to do. I mean, one good rule of thumb is to determine that it's time for a meeting. When we start seeing frequent correspondence on an issue and cluttered inboxes, it's at that point we hold a meeting to get to the heart of the problem. We also like to get advice from those who are making decisions and discover innovative products or strategies. You know, a lot of meetings that I used to attend were just status updates, progress reports, or even just announcements of a new system and so on. So we attended and each little person gave their update, and in that case, for me, that wasn't a good reason to meet. The information conveyed in most meetings of the status update variety could be communicated in other ways, for example, electronically. To those who consider meetings to be a time of team bonding, if you want to have team building, then have team building, but let's call it that. Now, if there is a lack of bonding, well, there's a better way of addressing it. Still, some companies may find it difficult to let go of status meetings altogether. If you must have a status meeting, keep in mind the overall amount of corporate meetings that each employee attend, and try to balance that amount with that in mind. At the very least, consider allowing them to be optional. Creating a clear purpose for your meeting and a structure for conducting it is crucial. You should identify the key meeting outcome you're hoping to get, or the one thing you need to get done to be able to say, yes, that was a successful meeting. Include the objective on the agenda so that everyone is aligned as to the meeting's purpose. Days before the meeting, solicit agenda items from meeting participants and compile them with your own. Be sure to send the agendas to all the participants before the meeting. You know, for people who know me, I'm a big believer in preparation. If you're the meeting leader, you need to sit down and think about what might happen at this meeting. I'll give thought in advance to what if. What if a key member doesn't show up? What if the technology doesn't work? And what if an audience member is bored or disruptive? The key to keeping a meeting on track is to summarize what you will cover and what you hope to accomplish during that meeting. I mean, for example, you could say, we're here today to review our client strategy options, and by the time this meeting is finished, we should have narrowed it down to 3 choices. Streamlining meetings by using agendas, especially those including agenda items from everyone, and verbalizing the meeting objectives at the outset can make a tremendous impact on meeting productivity. You know, without an atmosphere of respect, you can't hope for full participation. Many people will simply not speak up in an atmosphere where they don't feel welcomed. For starters, be respectful of people even if you disagree with their opinion. How you respond when people make a contribution can reinforce or negate your words. Show that you're open to different points of views by earnestly asking for clarification, and discourage inappropriate behaviours from others. For example, cut off those who interrupt. Say something like, hey, I understand you disagree, but let's let Gerald finish his point before we discuss it. Encourage others with pertinent questions such as, hey, Mark thinks that we don't have enough data to make a decision yet. How do the rest of you feel about it? And call on those with particular subject expertise. Hey Erica, I know you've got experience with these kinds of projects. What do you think about this? The message here is that everyone is involved. Now, when the time limit has been reached, close the meeting. Summarize the accomplishments, decisions, and next steps. This recap may seem like it takes unnecessary time, but it emphasizes just the opposite is true. You don't want people going out with a different understanding of what's been decided. And those 5 minutes at the end are crucial in that sense. You discuss so much during a meeting that you can go off in tangents. Tying it all together at the end was one of the best things that I have learned. Now, ideally, you should send out draft meeting minutes and ask for input. And final versions should be sent once input has been incorporated. And for both, set a time frame that makes sense for the complexity of what was discussed and decided at that meeting. That said, sooner rather than later is a good maxim here. You know, making meetings better should be at the top priority for all organisations. With their powerful effect on employee satisfaction, not to mention their cost, streamlining and improving meetings deserves your attention. And finally, be on time. For those who know me, I know you know I hate people that come late. So please, you're wasting my time if you don't come on time. Please, be there. Or send me a message at the least. Thanks for listening. Now, where are those meeting notes? Here's